In this alternative dissection, we'll be starting with the trachea. From the larynx, also known as the voice box, the trachea is connected, a long tube that sends air to the bronchi of the lungs. The esophagus. Attached next to the trachea is another parallel tube called the esophagus that moves small bolus of food through contracting movements called peristalsis into the stomach. The lungs. Oxygen enters the lungs after passing through the bronchi and then the bronchioles, which are covered in mucus-secreting goblet cells, and cilia, hair-like projections that move mucus towards the pharynx. At the end of the bronchioles are tiny sacs called alveoli covered in capillaries. The oxygen passes through the alveoli walls and into the bloodstream. The carbon dioxide that is produced is carried back to the lungs and exhaled. The heart. Through the pulmonary vein, blood enters the right atrium into the right ventricle. Each contain valves that stop the blood from flowing in the wrong direction. After circulating through your body, the oxygenated blood enters back to the heart in the left atrium, into the left ventricle, and out again through the pulmonary artery. The diaphragm. The diaphragm is a sheet of muscle under the lungs dividing the thoracic cavity. As the diaphragm contracts, the cavity increases in volume. The diaphragm pushes up and flattens, then relaxes during exhalation. It also increases abdominal pressure to get rid of vomit, feces, and other waste. It puts pressure on the esophagus to stop acid reflux. The liver. The liver converts glucose into glycogen, converts excess amino acids into urea, stores iron, and breaks down poisonous substances in the blood. The stomach. There is a cardiac sphincter at the beginning of the stomach that keeps in acid chyme, as well as the pyloric sphincter controlling the amount of acid chyme entering the small intestine. The stomach contains hydrochloric acid that destroys bacteria and pepsin that starts the breakdown of amino acids. The stomach is lined with villi and microvilli to increase the surface area for absorption. The small intestine. The pylorus connects the stomach to the small intestine. The small intestine is divided into three pieces: the duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. Its key job is to absorb nutrients. The large intestine. The large intestine, aka the colon's job, is to absorb water from waste, leaving only stool behind, which then goes into the rectum. The kidneys. The kidneys filter blood and pass urine. The gallbladder. Bile salts are stored in the gallbladder. The spleen. The spleen is a filter for blood. Old red blood cells are recycled and platelets and white blood cells are stored there. The rectum and anus. Stool leaves the rectum, which is a storage area for the stool. The cellulose or dead cells pass through the anus and exit the body.